Positive Anime Reviews is a review show that is designed for people who aren't very picky about their anime, like me. Most anime I watch ends up in my 5 out of 5 category. My reviews are for those people who are looking for a reason to enjoy anime rather than hate on it. I am willing to give any and all anime a chance before stating my opinion. Lastly, my reviews are all my opinion and might and or most likely won't match yours. If you don't agree, that's totally fine, just be respectful in the comment section, thank you. And as always, there is sometimes a spoiler section, but fear not, I will warn you first. Hey guys, Darth Gloric here, back with another positive anime review. Today we will be talking about My Dress Up Darling. So, welcome back to Positive Anime Reviews. So, yeah, I'm still a little bit rusty. I literally just finished this anime, like, not 10 minutes ago. Finished season 2, that is. But the last par review that I made was, for the first time in like 4 years or something, was, like last week or something, or like the week before, something like that. And so I'm still very rusty on this, so you'll have to bear with me, but yeah, welcome back to par reviews. So, obviously talking about My Dress Up Darling today. So, we can just hop right into it, but this anime is, pretty recent. The first season aired in, the January, I guess that's what is that? That's winter 2022 season, I guess, although for some reason, they do call January winter, which I guess actually is true, right? It's March is when spring rolls over, so yeah, it's from the winter 2022 season for season 1. Season 2 is from the summer 2025 season, so quite fresh for season 2. Now, I had not seen season 2, and so I was quite anxious to get into it, but I had seen season 1 before. But it had been long enough since I saw season 1 that I wanted to hop back in. I watched that one fresh so that I could be geared up for season 2 once it was all the way over. And so, as is often my policy. Almost always, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure there is a dub for this one. I checked it out for a little bit of season 1, and I thought it wasn't bad. It is kind of the same as most dubs seem to me, which is the pacing of their sentences seems a little off to me. There's like some pauses that are just half a beat longer than they should be. To my uneducated ear, I've always assumed it was because English and Japanese seem to have different speeds, like as far as like sometimes in one language it'll take a few words to say a lot first, and then in another one sometimes it'll take a lot of words to say very little. And so, just sometimes there's concise ways of saying other things and it changes. And so because of that, I feel like that, sometimes the Japanese will have to go longer to get the same thought across, and then the English one can say it quickly, or vice versa. So to my untrained ear, that's what I always assumed. It was just because like the cadences and the languages and direct translations and like stuff like that. But because of it, it does often to me make dubs kind of have a weird weird pauses. It just feels a little bit odd to me, and it kind of sucks me out of the experience. But the little bit of the dub that I checked out, if memory serves, because it was back in season 1, I thought it wasn't bad. It wasn't enough to make me watch it dubbed, but it wasn't bad. Adaptation from a manga, let me see. It looks like it actually is an adaptation from a manga. And that's actually something I really want to check out. I'm curious is if the manga goes much farther, is it more complete? I'm curious about, I am just a little bit curious. So we can go ahead and read the synopsis. I don't know if we'll read the synopsis for season 2, but we definitely will for season 1, at least. So, high school student Wakana Gojo spends his days perfecting the art of making Hina dolls, hoping to eventually reach his grandfather's level of expertise. While his fellow teenagers busy themselves with pop culture, Gojo finds bliss in sewing clothes for his dolls. Nonetheless, he goes to great lengths to keep his unique hobby a secret, as he believes he would be ridiculed were it revealed. Enter Marin Kitagawa, an extraordinarily pretty girl whose confidence and poise are in stark contrast to Gojo's meekness. It would defy common sense for the friendless Gojo to mix with the likes of Kitagawa, who is always surrounded by her peers. However, the unimaginable happens when Kitagawa discovers Gojo's prowess with a sewing machine and brightly confesses to him about her own hobby, cosplay. Because her sewing skills are pitiable, she decides to enlist his help. As Gojo and Kitagawa work together on one cosplay outfit after another, they cannot help but grow close even though their lives are worlds apart. So obviously very, very cool is like, jumping right in as far as like the synopsis, like it does kind of grab you. So this show, as far as rating goes, the rating gives it a PG-13. I think that's kind of pushing it. There's a lot of ecchi going on here. There is a fair amount of ecchi going on here. There's a lot of little ecchi scenes, and things get a little risque. It doesn't, none of this bothers me, okay? I say this as someone who does not bothered at all by any of that. However, it is a little bit pushing it. So maybe you could call it a stiff PG-13. It's PG-13 maybe, but barely. It feels like there's kind of a lot going on there. As far as season 2 goes, I'm debating whether I should I read the synopsis for season 2, because things obviously do change, but really maybe I shouldn't, because that is the basis for the show, and I feel like almost nobody is going to go into a second season of a show they don't know what the first one is. I feel right? Surely anime fans aren't going to jump into season 2 on something when they don't know what's happening. So I guess I won't bother reading season 2. I will just, because you kind of do have to watch the first one to know who all these people are and what matters and everything. And so I feel like you'll know what it's about when you watch it after you watch the first season, I suppose. So as far as genre goes, it calls it a romance. I would take that with a huge grain of salt. It is technically, I guess, sort of a romance. I would say more slice of life, because it really is focused on the cosplay. They're on the outfit making and all that stuff, and there is connection. It's more than just the cosplay stuff too, right? Because a big part of the anime is Gojo coming out of his shell, really. And it's one of the fun things about it is it is kind of a feel-good story in a lot of ways, because Gojo really is this kind of shy, kind of quiet, dude who has this unique hobby that's just different than most of his peers, and he doesn't know anything about pop culture or all the stuff that's in and popular. He doesn't know any of that stuff, and so it's just one of those things that it's interesting, because he's a very different kind of guy. And whereas Marin Kitagawa is very into all the new things, and she's very into her own hobbies, which is cosplay, but she's this big anime hentai nerd, which is really funny. She is. And so Gojo has a knack and the ability to make things, and so they have this very unlikely friendship, and it does kick off, and there is romantic undercurrents, but a huge part of it is not only the cosplay and the outfit making, but Gojo maturing and kind of growing bolder. And it was a real feel-good story, because he has, especially in the first season especially, it was so much about him becoming braver and about making a real friend and doing things that were different but sort of adjacent to what he does already with the Hina dolls and stuff, making outfits and painting and all and doing makeup and all this stuff. And so it really did vibe and blend really well, as far as kind of drifting over into making cosplay stuff. And obviously Marin is super into it, and so, but she can't sew at all, and so there's not a lot she can do, but she was really interested in cosplay, and so they just really bonded over that. But for me, a huge bit of what made this so good was the connection between Gojo and Marin, but specifically because Marin just helps so much with Gojo improving and being better, and there is vice versa moments when Gojo helps Marin with something, and it's just so good. That was so good. So they do call it a romance, but a huge part of it is I would say slice of life. I would throw in that quite a bit, and if you're expecting big romantic somethings from this, it's not that. If you're hoping for confessions or a kiss, maybe, you're not getting any of that, okay? So if it is sort of, it's like light romance, like super romance light. It's like diet romance, okay? Because like there's undercurrents and there's gonna be lots of blushing and ecchi and cuteness, but you're not gonna be getting a confession or anything. So don't rely upon it, because trust me, it's not gonna happen. But as far as the season length goes, the both seasons I believe are the same. Yes, they're both 12 episodes. They both are the classic regular runtime of about 23 minutes. Nothing crazy. I almost think there wasn't anything after the closing theme songs, I believe, but as always, I encourage you to check. Also, I meant to mention, I will probably, if I remember, which I probably will put the Japanese name in the description. Just because I don't know how to pronounce it and I don't want to butcher such a beautiful language. So I will just say the English one out loud, and then I will write down the Japanese one in my description. Anyway, so as far as the character list goes, in the first season, there's not a whole lot going on, because there is only 2 main characters. And so it gets more complicated, which I will touch on. But the first main character is Marin Kitagawa. So Marin Kitagawa is our first main character. She is the bubbly, popular girl, and she's very she's very upbeat, and she's very extroverted, and she's very fun. Like, she has a lot of other good traits. Like, one of the great things about Marin is the fact that she's very genuine. Like, she's very, I don't know, she'll just like tell someone like her opinion, and she'll just say it like it is. Like, and she doesn't beat around the bush, and she's not easily hurt at all. There's so many brutal things, like, not like brutal, because that's like maybe too strong a word, but there's things that get thrown around that would be hurtful, maybe, like, to most people. Like, maybe they would have a hard time just hearing that and not being like, wow, that was like, my feelings are really hurt. Marin just takes stuff in stride, like, all the time. She just like can't be stopped. And like, there was something that was really inspiring about just her go-getting attitude, and the fact that nothing gets her down, like nothing stops her, like in this really genuine way that was really fun. And she's obviously super cute, and she's incredibly adorable and very, very pretty, and a fact that's not lost on obviously anyone. And so it was so interesting. It was so interesting. She's such a great character. And it's also interesting because of all the cosplay outfits that she wears. It'll often change quite a bit on how she looks. And so obviously normally she, it's the blonde girl that no doubt you're seeing in the art that's been on screen, obviously. But there is lots of other moments that like she's like wearing a different wig, or she's wearing different makeup, and suddenly she looks a little bit different. And so her appearance, it feels like, changes all the time. But yeah, Marin is just so good. And it's not just because she's really pretty, it's because she's just a great person. And she's really inspiring because she just can't be stopped. And I just think that's great. Moving on to our next and last main character, it's Wakana Gojo. So Gojo, as everyone calls him, so Gojo is his last name. But Gojo is another really great character. He is quiet, and he's shy, and he's, and he has this, like, and I hesitate to even call it a hobby, because he makes these Hina dolls, which to my very uneducated eyes and ears, they seem like a very what's what I'm looking for? Like historical collector's item. They're like these really fancy, intricate dolls, right? They look really like, I don't know, very kind of like very steeped in Japanese culture kind of thing. You know what I mean? And they look really, really neat. And they seem very detailed, like it's a lot of work, And Gojo's grandfather is the one where he got all this from. And so I hesitate to call it a hobby, because for him it's obviously a passion. It's what it seems, I think it's what he's hoping to do for a career in the future, just like his grandfather. It's what Gojo is hoping to do. And so it's not just a hobby, it's a passion, it's going to be a living, And so it's just, Gojo is a quiet, by default, on his own. He's a quiet guy, and he really does mind his own business. And he had a really brutal experience about sharing what he's into when he was young that ended very poorly. This other girl treated him like dirt when she found out that he worked on Hina dolls, And so ever since then, he shut down, and he doesn't have any friends, and he doesn't talk to anybody, and he doesn't know anything about popular culture or what's in or what's going around or anything. And his peers barely know him, it seems like, and he doesn't know anybody. And then with the way him and Marin just like meet up and they just fall in together, they're like really quickly, they get really close. And initially he's never suspicious and he never treats anyone poorly, but he does believe that Marin is just like wants him because he can build the outfit she wants for cosplay, and then they're done. And Marin, obviously, she's not like malicious like that. And so Marin, for her, it's like, no, like, what's the next outfit? Like, she makes fast friends, and her and Gojo really get in thick together. And Gojo, it's just so weird because he doesn't have any friends before her. And so, like, it was just, they just hit it off, and it's so good. And Gojo is just a genuinely caring, kind, good person. And there is a lot of fun. There's a lot of funny moments in the anime. There's lots of funny moments in the anime, and lots of great serious moments too. And it was a great blend. But that's kind of it for the character list, and that's where things get a little complicated. Because really, there is other characters, like supporting characters. The first season, there's 2. There are like barely 3. Like, there's so few. But in the second season, they throw like 1,000 characters at you. It feels like they throw in a lot of characters, and personally, I had an incredibly hard time balancing all of the supporting characters in the second season. The second season's tone is also just a little bit different. And the second season is very chaotic, and it's like suddenly there's a lot of new characters, I feel like, and I had a really hard time keeping track of most of them. Eventually, like by the very end, I noticed in the last episode of the second season, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know who this is. But it took like most of the anime before I was able to like really differentiate who was who and what was what and stuff. So that was a little hard for me, I will admit that. And the tone of the second season is very fast and chaotic, and there's lots of funny moments in both of them. But we'll talk more about that stuff once we get to the rating and stuff. And so I don't want to dwell too long on it because I don't want to spiel into something that it's not. But as far as favorite, most hated characters, as is often this section, doesn't really apply because, of course, there's very few characters for the most part. And once they throw in a lot of side characters, it doesn't really help. And so this is yet another time when that section is not very applicable. I loved Marin and Gojo together. I loved their connection. I loved their friendship. I loved it when there was like this undercurrent romance developing that didn't really go anywhere. I really liked their connection. And moving on to the animation and music. Animation is top notch in this anime. This has a very pretty anime. Both seasons were gorgeous. And there's a lot of close detail where they're like going really deep on the eyes because they're putting in contacts for this cosplay. Or they're like showing all these like hair as they're doing all this fancy stuff to hair or makeup or whatever. And it just really hit. The animation was top notch. I felt like there was some good supporting music. The music didn't like blow me out of the water. I don't recall ever thinking that. The opening and closing songs are great as always. They were great as always. Very colorful, very vibrant, very fun. But the animation in this show is so good. And yeah, that's kind of it. So we're going to jump right into final rating and recommendation. For season 1, I am going to give a 6 out of 5. One of my favorites. This anime is one of my favorites, and I love it. And for season 2, I'm going to give a 5 out of 5. Very good. This anime made no mistakes worth noting, and is definitely worth a buy. So and here's where we hit this next section, because I feel like I need to explain, and I kind of touched on it earlier. So season 2 is very good, and I'm not going to I am not going to constitute this as spoiler territory, because it's not a spoiler. You get in like first episode of the second season, and you're going to be like, whoa, like it's something different here. So I don't constitute this as spoiler. But so for season 1, it was more cozy, and maybe that was the vibe. There was funny moments and kind of like wacky stuff, and there was ecchi stuff, and there was blah 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 blah. But there was lots of cozy moments where it was Gojo and it was Marin, and they were having a great time. And whether they were being silly together, or whether they were doing some romantic stuff together that like didn't click to either of them what they were doing, or like whatever, or they were doing working on cosplay or having a serious moment, they had lots of cozy moments. In the second season, it was almost like, it was like an onslaught. Like, there feels like there was, suddenly there's like 8 new characters of all these supporting characters. I have a very hard time differentiating who's who. There, like, suddenly there's just always people talking, and they did lots of things I've never seen in an anime. Like, they had like a Muppet moment. Like, briefly, they were like puppets, like the Muppets, like, it just, and for a moment I'm like, what is this? I've never once seen this in an anime. So the second season got wacky, and like they just did stuff that was just different, and it was just this, like, cacophony. It was like an onslaught of dialogue, of characters, of just chaos. And I really liked the cozy, like, Gojo Marin moments of the first season, and there was much fewer of those moments in the second season. And so that's why I gave them different scores. Because, and I don't know, man. There wasn't any kind of obvious resolution by any means. There was no, like, confession. There's no kiss. There's no nothing. And so if you're hoping for any kind of closure on anything, you're going to be disappointed. So that's the reason I'm like, when they call it romance, I'm like, barely. It's like barely. It's, like I said, it's diet romance. So I would just be aware of that. But really, that's pretty much it. It's a very good show, and I didn't want to drop season 2 into a 4 out of 5 because, yes, for me, it wasn't as good as season 1, for sure, but it had its moments where it was good, and it's not enough to dock it to 4 out of 5 territory. For me, it is enough to drop it from favorite territory for me, because I know season 2 for me is not as good as season 1. But that's why I'm very curious about the manga. I'm so curious if the manga is gonna hit, like, is gonna, like, have the same themes. Is it gonna feel the same? Whatever. I'm very curious about what the manga's like. So yeah, really happy that I was able to hit another par review fairly quickly after the last one that I did, which was This Monster Wants to Eat Me, I believe. And so yeah, I'm hoping to kind of continue the streak. I don't know if they'll be this close together like it was in this case, because some anime takes longer and sometimes I'm slower to get through it or whatever, and so I don't have any kind of schedule because these par reviews are not scheduled. They just happen when they happen. But I am hopeful that we can continue to keep this ball rolling and continue making par reviews. So anyway, that is going to call for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later. You're welcome. I would literally run through a field of glass barefoot to keep you guys safe. And if you think I'm kidding, it's only because you don't know me. I sexually identify as a shotgun. Aha, freaking idiot. Dumb little idiot. Dumb dead little idiot. Yeah. Oh, dude, let's freaking go. They're sitting ducks. They're gonna be dead ducks in a minute. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, my lordy. My friending, you forgot about me. I am in the trunk. Let me out.